Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of an experiment called Life. With me, Alex McKenzie. That's this guy. As always, our podcast is brought to you by Punchline Nutrition. So go check out some of our products. NeuroBoost is one I always recommend. I just took it before getting on the air here to make sure that I sound smart when I'm talking. And what I always say about NeuroBoost is we don't guarantee it'll make you smart, but we guarantee you will be less dumb. So that is one of the products there. Go take a look at it. And the Never Been Better tour is now live and going. So we've done the first four shows. We just ended up finishing up Smithers and Terrace. Coming up, we have Houston, Fort St. John, and Dawson Creek. So go to Alex Tells Jokes, check that out, get your tickets. You'll have a great time. Now, I am very excited. We have got a very lovely guest on the podcast today with us. Now, I don't want to say your name wrong because I know it's French, but it's Janie Pelletier.
That's it.
Pelletier?
Yeah, you
I
got it
got
right.
it. Oh, I
Yeah.
knew. I thought so. Oh, man, good job, Alex. Look at me go. Now, Janie, stop me if I butcher this, but you were an actor and then you started getting into yoga and holistic nutrition, and you also do corporate talent acquisition. Is that right?
I do corporate seminars. So I go into business,
Seminars.
talk about wellness, and yeah.
Okay, sweet. So I guess I can hand over to you. What is there anything that people should know about you? What is it that got you into this?
Wow. I think maybe just the intention of taking my health into my own hands. So, as a
Right,
lot of people who went into the health industry or being a practitioner of any practices, it started with when my health was being challenged. And
right,
then out of, and in acting school too, when I realized my body was my tool to work and perform, just maybe you can understand yourself being on
right,
stage, being performing, and also being my health was not just about me. If I would break a leg because I tried a new extreme sport, which they tell you that in acting school, don't do that. Well,
right,
you're compromising the entire production. So,
right,
so health took a very responsibility, right? I have responsibility in my health because it affects others.
right. I do find that. I think of I often think that like when I'm on these long tours and doing shows, I'm like, dude, if I get sick, like it's really detrimental, like not just to me, but to anyone who had the tickets or plans, or I've never had to cancel a show because I was sick, luckily. But it is something I take very, I'm very cautious of my health. And I think it's the foundation for anything, right? Like they always say, like if you're not healthy, like you can't be happy. What's the one saying? They say you can have 100 problems until you're unhealthy, then you have one problem, you
Yes,
know?
I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I heard it
I
somewhere. It
might
was like, I
take
was
it.
like, yeah, it's really good. It's just, it shows you that like health is the foundation. And when I do every month, I do like these monthly goals. I write down like goals I'm trying to achieve for the month. And when I write down what's it going to take to achieve them, health is always at the top. I'm like, you have to be healthy, make sure you're getting your sleep, make sure you're getting your diet and exercise. And because if I'm not healthy, I just don't have the energy to get things done.
And then mental health, emotional regulation takes a hit.
Yeah, I saw you do quite a bit on that, right? Like the mind-body connection, is that right? Like it is that
Yeah,
kind of what your practice is around? I guess
100.
first of all, explain to me what is holistic health as opposed to
Yeah,
like
right.
a dietitian or like what is holistic health? How would you
So
describe it?
I guess, well, that's a really fair question. I guess holism means a whole. So I would say that as a holistic nutritionist and a holistic practitioner, I approach an individual, who comes to me, and I would address their what is making them unique. So it's also addressing the physical health, so your nutrition, your movement practice, but also your sleep hygiene, your
Right.
exposure to toxicity, toxic exposure, as you know, plastic, PP, hormonal disruptors, we call, and also your
Right.
emotional mental regulation. That is a whole portrait of what makes you, or what generate your daily decisions. You're influenced by all these factors, and that is personal to you. You have your own personal story. So holism is actually what makes you you be you now. So your stories, your
Right.
thoughts, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's really good. I always looked at holistic nutrition. I just thought it was like meant to be organic, but I obviously didn't look at the word enough where it's like holistic. Like it is, it's not just one area of your life. It's not just like your exercise, it's your mental and your physical and everything else to create, yeah, a whole picture of health.
Yeah, and what makes you you? Like, let's say for you, let's say for example, you live in your motorhome, right?
Right.
You on tour, you're male,
Yep.
you're in your 30s. So all these factors are gonna me as a holistic practitioner, as I approach your health or your, you know, you consult with me, all these are gonna be very different than let's say a 60-year-old woman who must be
Right.
postmenopausal who might be retired, who may have, you know, a different story. So, and also holism means that seeing the body, that's why I explain in conferences, it's like as a ecosystem. Your body is an ecosystem. It's not just if you have, let's say, um, your 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 hip hurts. Is
Right.
it really just
Which
your
it
hip?
does, by the way. My hip does hurt. So,
Oh, there you
but so I don't know what it is. I think I've got sciatica, and I'm like, dude, is it just my hip or is it my back? I don't know what's going on in there. But
well,
anyway, so I cut you off. So if you have
no,
a sore
no,
head,
no problem. I like that correlation, right? There's no you know, everything is connected. That's kind of my whole point. And you
right,
and then to see the body as an ecosystem. So if you have like a hip or in this area you have some pain, does it really just your hip? Could it come also from the way your pelvis is rotated or not? So it can be, you know, go see a nice physical therapist, right? Is it because you're seated a lot? Is it
right,
also, does it impede your digestive system? Can it be coming also from your ankles because you maybe your feet are super tight? We don't know, and it's not about just knowing. It's about being open that the body, a body part is affected by other body system. It's we're not just you know, let's say the medical system or the we were going through allopathic medical system is might be more siloed. You know,
right,
it's all just about your heart. We're not going to relate it
right.
to your breath, to your digestion, or to your brain health, which are all related to the heart, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I found with this. So it started with lower back pain, and I'm like, oh, I have sciatica because it does go all the way down through my
Yeah,
leg to the back of the knee, down through my ankle. But then I went and got some stuff looked at, and someone figured like piriformis syndrome.
yeah,
I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah. So they're like,
yeah.
oh, we think that's what it is. It's actually your left glute is too tight and is pushing on it and simulating sciatic, and you don't actually have back pain. It's actually this glute that's
Pulling.
causing the problem. And so then I went and did some physiotherapy for that, and it definitely helped. But then, and now I'm like, do I have back pain or do I have hip pain? Like, my family has a bad history of hips. Like, my sister and my mom both had to get new hips by the time they were 30 years old. And so now I'm like, oh, maybe I have a hip pain. And yeah, it is wild just to see how much it all correlates. And you're like, oh, it's showing up in my back, and I think I have a bad lower back. But then they x-ray it and they're like, oh, you're fine. But
You know, and the majority of back pain is caused by over sitting.
right. Well,
And I'm not saying it's your case, but I mean, you might be driving a lot.
oh no, I do. I drive a lot and I sit here. Like, this is my desk, my office. I do all my writing. Like, every day I spend, a
Yeah.
couple hours in the morning writing. I'm working on the laptop. And I do notice that when I do sit more, it does hurt more. Something else that I noticed, which I wonder, like, you probably have experience in this, but is when I am stressed, my back hurts more if I am feeling like stressed about work or shows or performance. But I always wonder, it's like the classic chicken or the egg. I'm like, is this back pain because it's very prominent today and it's like it's bothering me a lot? Is that then like sending pain to my brain and now I'm stressed because I'm like, oh, there's pain and I'm like very irritable? Or is it my stress that is causing the pain? Like which one's first? Is the pain making me stressed or is the stress making me pain? Is there a correlation between emotional stress and physical pain?
I mean, that that's the but maybe not my professional expertise, but I would say that from my yoga perspective, right? From
Right,
my yoga means connection. Yoga means union. And to me, why I practice holistic health, I combine nutrition and yoga, and I don't think there's to me they're one and the same.
right,
In a way that, just to your question, our physical and emotional bodies are interconnected. Do you have this pain because you're more stressed, but what did you do before? Do you have a certain range of motion that you do, or maybe you move less? Maybe, there's multiple factor. Did you do more sitting because you were preparing? And also, is it sometimes we kind of have like a weak spot in our body? And I said that with so much love because I don't think we have a bad body part when we've been injured. I don't call it like this, but my
right.
hip, I took that example because this in my hip, I had a bad snowboard accident 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And when I go through a phase, I just finished a 5 months of intensive work and conferences and workshop and seminars, and my hip, when I go through a prolonged period of sustained output,
Right.
it will start to flare out. It will start to talk to me. I call it my body talks to me. That's how I talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it in
yeah.
yoga. That's how I talk it in nutrition. Your body sends you signal, you listen or you don't. So I would say to you, listen to that signal and pay it. I know you meditate, right? I
Yeah.
believe, and I know you
Yeah, I
do
got
journaling.
I
Yeah.
got my meditation pillow right here.
Amazing. So what you could do, if it's something that, I know you use a drishti, a focus, you can
Yeah,
also focus on this sensation. And I know you can do it seated, but if seated, enhance that pain, you can also meditate laying down on your back with your knees bent and just
right.
breathe into the feeling and just be in a wonder of what you can receive, because your body is telling you something, and it
You,
may radiate into your back, but doesn't mean that's the back that you need to address the pain.
you know what I find odd when I meditate and I try focus on the pain? It's really hard to pinpoint the pain. Like when I really just like close my eyes and breathe in and I'm like, okay, find the exact spot. And it feels fleeting. I feel like I can never grab the spot. But it does show me, I always look at that as like the impermanence of pain, or like when you really go in there, you're like, what is pain? And I can't quite get a grasp on it. And it does feel like it goes away. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Maybe do you want to hold on to that pain, or you
No,
want to
no.
create space, right? So,
Right,
so set your intention, right? Sankalpa, very important in when you develop like a practice, a spiritual practice or yoga practice, and just breathe into this area of your body and give it prana, or give it energy, give it nourishment through your breath, because you are regulating your nervous system. And what also traditional medicine, what I practice, holistic nutrition, it's not about trying to manipulate your body. It's about giving your body the nourishment it needs for it to take care of business.
right.
Doesn't that It's totally reversed from the allopathic practice or modern medicine. It's that's why we would consume nutrition dense food, supplementation. We're going to do exercise. We're going to stimulate more blood flow. We're going to open our detox pathways so the junk can come out and the nourishment can come in. Herbs, tincture,
Right,
but then the body will take care of the cold, will take care of healing, because your body is healing 24/7.
right,
24/7. And the paramount, the most important, one of the most important pillars is your sleep,
right.
because that's when you rejuvenate, that's when you detoxify, that's when you're recycling neurons that are worth keeping, or you're destroying them if they're not worth keeping. Like, that's powerful. So
What is the most common mistake you see when it comes to sleep with people?
um I think the most common mistakes, it's That's a really good. I see a lot of answers here. Maybe can I give like three things?
Of course, yeah, it doesn't have to be the most common, but like what are, I guess just what are common mistakes people make when trying to increase or like something people can do to increase their sleep quality, I guess.
Yeah, well, first light, like blue light exposure, this like conscious like reaching out of like an electronic is extremely detrimental. Having a really dark room is very important. And we need to sleep in a cave or put
Right.
a mask on, right? That's it, right? If you have like, your park and you have like a Walmart light shining on your eyes, like put a mask on, right? I personally use
Yeah.
a buff, like those neck warmer. I put a buff. It's not tight on my face. That's what I
Okay.
carry everywhere when I travel.
Yeah.
Um, but light is one of the killer. It prevents the pineal gland to secrete melatonin, which is our sleep hormone.
Right.
And then the addiction to blue light is super disruptive. The other one
Yeah.
is food, is nutrition. If you go to bed, like there's this, and that is individual for each people. But if you go to bed and if you're slightly hungry, it might prevent you from optimal sleep because your brain's going to need glucose. And
Right.
this is the caveat of if you're a woman or if you're a man, because if you're a woman, it depends where you are in your cycle.
Okay.
So that is definitely a lot of like, that's a conversation to have regarding sleep because women don't need the same thing depending on where they are in their cycle.
And
If the
what is the best? So, like last night, for example, that's a funny. I was gonna say was, like I'm trying to diet and lose some weight right now. So I've been restricting my calories. And last night I was really hungry come bedtime, and I'm like, I'm trying to go to sleep, but I can't because I'm so hungry. Like my body's just like, eat something. We need food. Now, I've heard of like the. Have you ever heard of like the 3-2-1 rule for sleep, where they say like 3 hours before stop eating, 2 hours before stop drinking, 1 hour before cut out light. So then
no,
it's
but
like,
yeah, but I relate. Yeah.
yeah, they call it like the 3-2-1. So yeah. Anyway, but what I found there is like if I haven't ate, then I'm very hungry, and then that actually impedes me falling asleep. So last night I got up and I ate some leftover chicken that I had in the fridge. Now, is it better? Like I always thought, I was like, oh, I'll eat a bunch of protein because protein it'll be healthier. It's not as bad. But is it the glucose that I need? Because I don't want to take sugar, like anything too fast digesting, right?
Well, okay. First, we need to backtrack to your calorie restriction part because your
Right,
calorie restriction, I understand that you have an intention to lose weight,
right,
and but by calorie restricting, you might be counterproductive. I'm not saying you didn't lose weight, but those are just questions. Just pay attention to how your body feels, and 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 this is a common mistake because you do work out, right?
right. Yeah, I just got back from the gym just now.
Amazing. So good for you.
Did
So,
leg day, the hardest day. Got it out of the
oh,
way.
well, you need sufficient calories to feed your muscles. And you're a
Right,
man, you have healthy level of testosterone. I am kind of assuming, but you need to fuel your muscles. You need to heal, right? Because the rule number one of muscle synthesis is you got to break it down. You got to break down the fiber, and you're gonna then grow the muscle, right?
right.
1-2 rule, very easy. So, yes, you must be eating enough protein. I feel confident about this. You must have supplementation, good lean
Yeah, definitely. I
protein.
make sure I get at least 200 grams a day, if not more.
Okay, good. Well, if you don't have enough glucose into your nutrition, your protein will be turned into glucose. Okay.
Right.
So what I would recommend, and then protein again. So technically you can eat whatever you want, but um, I would say be be kind to yourself to not over restrict, because if it disturbs your sleep, your healing process is not optimal. Your
Right.
muscle protein synthesis is not optimized, and this blood sugar regulation, right? Because the more muscles you have, the
Yeah.
more glucose your body can process.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because you must have a fair amount of muscle. the
Yep,
glucose will
big,
be,
strong, powerful man.
look at that. So your glucose, and I'm talking glucose, I'm talking like, sweet potatoes. It can be like fruits, whole foods, like nothing that
Right.
comes in the bags or in the box, right? And you need
Yeah.
also sufficient amount of healthy fat to feel satiated. Do you eat enough fat?
Oh, I'm not sure. Fat's the one I try to avoid. I'm trying to think, what do I have? I normally have like Greek yogurt and blueberries to start my day, but I think the Greek yogurt I get is like, I've been eating this Siggy's one, and I think it's got like no fat in it. I think it's like this
No,
one.
it's protein. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, there's no fat. It's got 7 grams of carbs, and then that, and then, but I do eat quite a bit. Like today, after we're done, I'm gonna be eating the like tuna poke,
Okay.
ahi tuna. And I think
Nice.
this has fat in it, right? That's got a
Yep.
fair amount of
Yep.
fat in the fish. And then yeah, then I eat like extra lean ground beef. So I've got this, you
How handy,
know.
right? Right by the fridge.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah.
Okay. So what about like, okay, I'm gonna tell you why healthy fats. It could be, I'm
I
a
used
big
to
fan.
put walnuts in here. I used to put
Yeah.
walnuts in, but then what I found is walnuts, they're just so calorie dense that I was overeating all the time. Like my calories were always so high.
So are you someone who
Or
takes notes of everything? Are you taking notes? You do
I
do
would I would track it on like one of my apps, my Fitbit app. I would
okay.
track all my stuff, and then I kind of
Ooh,
compare
data.
it to what my output is. So I actually just bought like a human body pod. Have you heard of those?
No.
So currently I just have like a Fitbit scale, but I've got a human body pod I just ordered. I get to pick it up next week when I'm back through town. Um, but it gives you all of your data, It's like you stand on it and then you hold the little
It's like a
things, and then
DEXA.
it yeah, kind of like, but not, I don't think it's as good, but it's really close. Like they say it's within like 98% accuracy of these things, of like the really
Oh.
fancy scales. So it gives you like your visceral fat levels, it gives you like your muscle mass, your bone density, like all of that stuff. Because I really like uh
That's
I
cool.
I I came from like I used to be an instrument mechanic, which is basically measuring process variables. So
Yep.
if you want to know any like level in a tank, pH of a product, any of that. And the saying they always had in instrumentation was that which can be measured can be controlled. So then I found something I find very hard right now is whenever I'm doing like between bulking and cutting, I'm like I'm just ending up around the same weight all the time. And I'm like, am I even getting any, like, if I'm gaining muscle, that's great. But I'm like, I can't tell. Like, I go to the gym, I'm like, I'm not lifting a ton more. I feel like, am I like, gaining weight and gaining a bit of muscle? Then I cut and I lose muscle and fat. Like, so it
Mm-hmm.
just feels like you're kind of yo-yoing I want to know, like, if my weight is going up, at least if I'm getting more muscle mass, then I'm like not as worried about the weight.
So where do you feel like there's too excess weight on your body?
The weight, it's all in my stomach. Like I don't have it, like my arms are pretty lean, my legs are good, but it's like my abdomen and then love handles at the back. That's where all the weight comes in,
Yeah.
which I've heard is generally like high cortisol.
Yeah, that's typical of man. That's also where man tends to. Yeah, usually would associate to an hormonal imbalance, and cortisol is a hormone. So
Yeah,
probably have you noticed? So if we come back just to the fat part, the
of
important,
course.
the fat part, just so I finish this,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
for you, it doesn't have to be a lot. It would be
Well,
like cooking your pork
ooh,
in butter.
that's what I was gonna say. That I probably get enough of it all from this. I got grass-fed butter. And I do it.
Yay!
I know
We
my
love
funny
that.
thing I do with my butter. Every time I go to start cooking, if someone's watching me, they panic. Because all I do, I just put my butter in a Tupperware, but I take the whole brick and I put it on the thing. And then I just let it melt however much I need. And then I scoop it out and put it back in here. But people see me put a whole brick in and they're like, what are you doing? Like they
I
think I'm
love
about to
it.
they think I'm about to cook a whole brick of butter with like a gnocchi or something and they panic.
Oh my God.
Or yeah.
You know what? I love those little like personal quirks. Honestly, that's my favorite. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
So
no worries. Yeah, yeah.
so you know what? I like nutritional preferences and tailored. Like you're I love that you're taking data, you're totally hands-on, you're hooper, like you're your own sleuth, right? Of
Yeah.
like what should work and not. So I think, like and avocado is also a great fat.
Yeah,
Um,
I would put avocado quite a bit, like with that tuna that I had there. I
there
would
you
make like
go.
a tuna poke bowl because I just eat that raw. I just cut it up and then
Yeah.
I put a
Okay.
little bit of like rice vinegar sometimes. I heard that that
Nice.
helps like get some stuff off. But yeah, I would put avocado in, but again, then I found calories are going up a lot. Like because I think it's over 300 calories in a full avocado roughly.
It could. Well, I personally have a half per meal. Like
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like I don't really count on myself, but I eat a lot of nuts and seeds. That's kind
Yeah.
of what's the bulk because nuts and seeds have because my next question is going to be your amount of fibers because nuts and seeds are full of protein, healthy fats, and fibers, and so
Right.
they kind of hit the three, right? And those are what fibers are very important for your detox pathways because it almost feels like we're in mid consultation and we would have a poop talk, right?
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. We got to talk about some shit here.
yeah, exactly. We're gonna get down to business because that's very important that you detox. Maybe when you go to the gym, you sweat. I don't know if you have access to a sauna, but that's
I
pretty.
love sauna. Sauna's my favorite. I actually
Right.
just signed up for another gym. Like I always go to, I've been an Anytime Fitness member forever.
Okay.
But then Good Life Fitness, when I was out east in like the Maritimes, they had only Good Life really, but Good Life's all have a sauna with them. So
Ooh,
then
nice.
I'm like, I love the sauna, which is one of my favorites. Like to do 20 minutes in there is
Yep.
yeah. But I eat a ton of spinach is where most of my fiber comes from. I used to
Yeah.
have oatmeal every morning, but now I've switched to the Greek yogurt to try and just have a higher protein breakfast. Even though the oatmeal I would put like a scoop of protein powder in,
Yeah.
you know.
The thing is, like, if you take more, let's say you could always, especially if you liked it, did you notice when you were eating oatmeals, were you feeling ravenous at the end of the day?
By
Could you,
ravenous, like hungry.
yeah, hungry, like you explained it when we first started this
Yeah, I'm not
segment?
sure. The thing is, I always want to eat. Like, I just like, I would eat all day. Like, it is alarming. My friends, one of my friends says the funniest thing ever is going to all you can eat sushi with me. Because he's like, when you do all you can eat sushi, I love watching the waiter explain to you 3 times that you have to pay for the food you don't eat. Cause like I order so much and they're like, this isn't a joke. Like you can't just order everything on the menu and not eat it. So I feel like I don't have that off switch. Like I don't have there's a hormone that tells your stomach when it's
Yeah,
full,
leptin.
right? Leptin,
Leptin.
yeah. So I feel like I've got a high tolerance to that, probably from overeating. I used to be a lot bigger than I was.
It could be. It's an hormonal, and that's interesting to know that. One thing that you can munch on that is amazing is like fiber, celery,
Yeah,
radish.
like
You know,
carrots. I've tried that a little bit. Like just have some carrots, they're
yeah.
annoying to eat, so and they seem
But
filling, so
and also like celery, did you spend more energy to
yeah, break
digest the celery than what it gives you. And it's full of
right,
minerals and also fibers and water. So it's also
right.
hydrating because you sweat a lot because you work out. You're like when maybe you already replenish your electrolytes, but that's something that's very important. Like electrolytes, potassium, sodium, and magnesium, and all the minerals, right? Zinc, selenium, etc., are needed for every cellular function:
Okay.
regeneration, memory, focus, any cellular function you can think of, and they always work in team. So replenishing your electrolytes is super important. I'm a big fan of like sea salt and water, like a nice
I
Celtic sea salt. You don't have to be fancy, or you can buy electrolytes.
Yeah, I do a lot of salt. It's actually alarming. Most people are like, "How are you eating salt?" I keep like the same way that I keep my other thing. I just have a bucket of like this is from Vancouver Island sea salt. And I just like
Ooh,
I always just pick it up and I just pinch it on all my food. I love it.
you
It's
got
so
all the hacks. that's that's
yeah.
that's a very easy accessible, and then you can find the minerals because where are minerals found in the ground? So vegetables contain minerals as well,
Right.
right? But to get back, like, to make sure that you have, because you eat a lot of protein, but to make sure that with your protein, I would be really curious to actually, for you to try your oatmeal in the morning. Like, you
Right.
load up with your oatmeal because your digestive fire is the most powerful in the morning until about, look at the sun, until 1 or 2. This is
Okay.
where also cortisol spikes in the morning around 6 7 a.m, depending on, so that's where you are the most ready to receive food because you've been fasted for a while. So
Right.
giving like oatmeal is amazing because it's rich in fiber. It's going to fuel up your brain, and you can load it up with pretty much anything: protein powder, yogurt, blueberries, whatever you want. And
Yeah.
notice, if starting your day like this, it could be even a leftover rice, it could be leftover quinoa, and then see if you still have that hunger at the end of the day.
Right. Okay. Because I did find one of the things I was thinking is that like when I had the oatmeal, I felt hungrier sooner. Like
So, did you cook your oatmeal or it was raw?
I do, I cook it. So I would put it in water and then put it in the microwave for like 3 minutes and then just I would add like a scoop. I used to make like a designer oatmeal. So I had like desiccant coconut, unsweetened desiccant coconut, like the dried coconut in there, and then chia seeds and blueberries and a scoop of protein powder and sometimes a scoop of collagen.
And was your chia seed soaked long enough so you can absorb it, or they were just whole, throw in there
Just
and
whole. I just dry from the bag. I'd shake them in
so
there and
you just poop those out?
oh no, you don't even get them in ya. Oh, come
No,
on.
that's super. Those are also things that I've been repeating on and on and on. Like, if you take ham seeds, no, I'm sorry, not hams, flax, sesame, and chia, they have a
Yeah.
really hard coating. If you just eat them like this, you're
Okay.
just gonna poop it out because no way
Like
you're gonna
these guys?
chew
Like if I
them.
if I have to cook these sesame
Okay,
seeds?
the sesame, technically you have to grind them. This is what I mean. If you want to absorb the beautiful zinc and calcium they got in there, you have to grind them. Because
Okay.
what you would need to do to absorb, like, think about it, right? It would be to crush every single seed. Are you going to crush
Right.
every single seed with your teeth? They're just
Yeah.
going to go through it, right?
Right.
So that's a part. So the chia, which is different than ham, and then I'm sorry, flax and sesame, is like you can soak them overnight.
Right.
So they will expand. They will become gelatinous, like, we call this mucilaginous. So then you will absorb them. But if you just put them in your cereal or your oatmeal right when you eat it, most likely you're not going to have
Right.
chewing.
You're not gonna get the gotta get the
So
benefits from it.
you're losing the power of the fiber, and oatmeal as well. Some people, I used to, there's that craze of like overnight oatmeal. That's why I
Yeah,
asked.
overnight oats. Yeah.
Overnight oat. Sorry, I would eat that. I would be hungry within an hour. So
That
I understood that, like, okay, it doesn't work. So I always cook mine too. So you do, and then
right.
you want to have sufficient. And I don't know what's the quantity you take.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to see, but it is like I just use a scoop of my protein from like I would take one scoop of oatmeal out of this, you know?
Yeah,
I
can I?
used to have it weighed out, but I don't
Yeah.
know
I'm like, yeah,
what it,
you're a tracker. I was like, I thought you would answer that question. I can tell you, for me, it's like a third of a cup.
yeah,
But
I'd have to look and see what it was because I always did everything by weight. I'd have like a little weigh
yeah,
scale and weigh it and then do it. I could go back and see, but yeah. What's
sometimes it could be half a cup. Half a cup could be for you, especially because you're going to go work out. You're going to go be very creative. You're going to use your brain. And,
right. Well, that's
I
what
would
I find the
experiment.
biggest thing is like if I am tired and fatigued, I can't create. Like I can't like it's very different. I find journaling in the morning very easy, that part of the writing, because I just word vomit. Like I'm literally just like, here's how I feel today. I'm kind of like this and blah 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 blah. But then when I go to write actual stand up, sometimes I'm like, this is daunting because I'm actually trying to create this thing and it's not just, it feels like I have to think a lot more about what I'm writing rather than because I'm like, oh, when I'm journaling, it's very easy because I go, no one's ever going to see this. This doesn't matter. I can just write in circles. But when it's stand up, you're like, this is what I'm creating to present to the world. And I find that it takes a lot more energy.
Mm. So your
What,
brain.
yeah, one thing I was going to ask about, because I saw you do like the gut-mind
Yep.
connection. The
Yep.
only thing I've heard about that, have you heard of like the shikimate pathway? Does that sound, is that right? Shikimate? Or
I'm not sure. No, I don't know what.
I'm probably saying it wrong. It's like, it's a form of biosynthesis. I think it's like, it's what plants have, and apparently we have it in our guts. It's what's the active ingredient in Roundup? What is
Oh,
the
glyphosate.
glyphosate? So it's what glyphosate stops in plants, and apparently we have that. I saw like an old documentary called What's with Wheat,
Yeah.
and it
Okay.
was a good documentary talking about how like all of our wheat and everything is sprayed with this glyphosate, and then it ends up getting into our guts, and then that stops our own, I believe it was the shikimate pathway, which then helps create your neurotransmitters. Like in
Yeah.
your gut helps create your neurotransmitters. So like, because I struggled with depression in my 20s. Like I
Yeah.
was very sad, I was having a hard time, but never did I think that what I was eating could be causing a deficiency in my neurotransmitters, such as your dopamine or your serotonin.
Yeah. Well, what I could maybe contribute here is like 90% of our serotonin is created in our guts.
Right.
So that's the happy. That's the happy you. That's the happy Alex. That's a content Alex, right? And the
Right.
dopamine is the rewarded Alex. It's like I eat and I'm like, ah. So that those pathways, because the gut microbiome, which you may be familiar with,
A little bit. I barely know. Yeah.
so we are most of the food you eat, especially when I relate to fiber, is not for you. It's for the bugs in your body that
Right.
are making sure that you are in balance. Okay. Because you want to have, there's, we have microorganisms. They can be fungi, yeast, bacterias, call them, name it, inside our body and on our body, on our skin, in our nose, everywhere. We are protected by them. But there's some, we'll call them good guys and bad guys.
Hmm.
And the one you feed are the one who are gonna proliferate. If you feed the good guys,
Yeah.
they're gonna be outnumbering the bad guys. And
Right.
I like to, my analogy is with firefighters.
Yeah.
Firefighters are always doing drills. So there's
Yeah.
always like, we all have some cancerous cells in our body. We always have some like, a few bad guys, because the good guys need to keep on drilling, doing drills to make sure that our immunity is top notch, that our hormonal system is regulated, that we because ultimately our body is wired for survival.
Right.
So if you, let's say, consume a lot of liquid sugar, that's for example, that's the thing. If I could have a magic wand or snap my fingers, I would make all the sweet liquid disappeared into this whole planet, like the pops and the juices of the world,
Right.
because they spike your blood sugar, which causes stress, but they were deprived of fibers, and they also dysregulate the microbiome, right? It's highly inflammatory. So when you eat like fibers, like your chia and your oatmeal and your blueberries and your spinach,
Right.
you are feeding the guys that you want to keep strong and
Right.
protecting, because the majority of your immunity is in your guts as well. So
Right.
if you have a skin inflammation, okay, if you have also like lack of focus, maybe depression, ADHD have also been associated with it's called dysbiosis, so a gut microbiome that is maybe outpopulated by the bad, or just decimated, not enough variety of bacteria, right? Because it's
Right.
an ecosystem. Our body is an ecosystem. It's super complex, and we
Yeah, I
just
heard a stat one time that like that was actually, it was the same thing I think from that What's with Wheat. They talk about how they thought glyphosate was so good because they're like, oh, it only attacks it doesn't attack human cells, it only attacks like whatever,
the
what's the other
microbiome, the microbes.
exact
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it turns out it only attacks bacteria or whatever. But they say
Yeah.
that like our body, we have like 1,000 times more bacteria cells than we do human cells or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And so it's like we're more bacteria than we are human.
Yeah.
And so when
100%.
that glyphosate is being uh introduced to your body, like you're really messing it up. Yeah.
Yes. And that's endocrine disruptor. So that's
You know what
why
the problem I have is this. I drink out of this every day and I have been for the last 10
plastic.
years. Yeah, I drink out of a plastic water bottle every day.
Ditch that. Ditch that. I'm just kidding. I
No.
don't want, I never, maybe
No.
you're attached to it, your Gatorade bottle. Um, I'm a big fan of stainless steel and glass. Like, you know what I do when I come back from grocery shopping? I
What?
just did that. I just came back. Grocery shopping is one of my favorite activity.
Dude, that's one of my favorite things too. I love it.
What?
I just did the same thing. I go, yeah, I love like the gym and the grocery store. That's what I talk about in my routine there. I was saying like the two places I go are like the gym and the grocery store.
Yeah.
They're my
Yeah.
favorite places to go.
I love it. I love
I
it.
think it's because I think the grocery store does a thing where like when I'm there, I feel like I'm doing something healthy for my body and my life. So then just
Yeah.
even being in that environment, I go, this is a healthy choice that you made today. And it makes my little brain happy and brain goes, good job, Alex. You were healthy today.
You are so right. Like I keep saying when I even in my yoga I taught this morning, and I talk about this, like what we do, like the best, the one of the big, I call that an act of love for ourselves,
Yeah, of
is
course.
awareness in our decisions. The decisions we make every day, the micro decision. You decided to go to the grocery store instead of the restaurant.
Right.
Where you can control your food, and you can also be in wonder. Like maybe you could try like a daikon. You've never had a
Right.
daikon. Well, you eat that like a radish. That's one of my recent discovery. I'm like, what is this long white vegetables?
Right.
They just figure it out, and now I buy it regularly, and it's like my little snack, right?
Yeah.
And just read labels. I'm a big, like, I read labels. Like I actually offer like consultation in grocery stores. Oh my
Right.
god, this is like a library of information.
I
And
generally don't buy anything that has a label. So short of like my Greek yogurt and like there's a few things I guess. Like I drink oat milk in my coffee,
there you
but
go.
but the same thing. It's usually just like I probably do a lot more than I think with the labels because I'm thinking like any kind of sauce, right?
But you could also, and you I mean, there's processed food and there's ultra processed food. Those
Right,
are, I think, two distinction. Like if you like, I remember starting in school, like my first diploma, it was like one of the rule of thumbs is like a label that has 5 ingredients or less
right.
will be processed. Like if you buy, I'm not gonna make my own cheese,
Yeah,
and
of course.
so but
Yeah,
a cheese, milk is not orange. That's one
right,
thing we need to say as well. And some ingredient list on the cheese can be very, very long. So I'm like, is that still cheese?
right.
That's a question to ask
Have you ever
ourselves.
heard Dimitri Martin has a great joke about cheese where he talks about because it's like sour milk or whatever, right?
Yeah,
He
well,
talks about that.
technically, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he's like, he talks about like milk. He's like, how'd they find cheese? Milk, guy's got like a rotting milk in the fridge, and you're like, dude, that's so gross. Throw it out. He's like, no, no, just give it a minute. I think something here is gonna happen. And then he's like, then it turns into cheese. He's like, which is even better than milk. He's like, way to turn it around, milk. Like you at your lowest point rotten, and then you became cheese. And he's like, very
Exactly. I mean,
impressive.
there's definitely an art to it,
Yeah,
but I like it. But he's right, because
yeah,
and when a food is fermented, now let's talk about the microbiome again. When a food is fermented, it's easier for us to digest, because think about it, right? We are a mammal and we are predators. So our preys, which are mostly plants, have a
right,
defense mechanism against us, and it's
right,
their fiber. So that's why maybe someone's going to eat, and what we created, well, we discovered fire and we discovered cooking. So when we cook them, or we process them, or we ferment them, then we make them more digestible for us, and ultimately better for our gut microbiome.
yeah.
Um, so fermentation, which that's why like kefir, yogurt, or cheese do have some fermentation,
Right.
which is
What
easier
is
to.
Ooh, I had a thing that I did a couple more questions and then I can let you be on your way here. Um, One thing, is there something that you used to believe that you no longer do in relation to health? Like, is there something that you were like, oh, this was the best thing, and then over time you're like, ah, actually, I don't believe that anymore, or you got new information that
Oh,
it's not as good?
that's a stellar question. Um, I have to say, like,
Because like,
impermanence is the only constant. So I feel like there must be a lot. Okay, yes. Go ahead. You were gonna
oh
add
no,
something?
I was gonna say just like things for me, like I used to eat a lot more nuts. Like I would always eat nuts thinking they were really healthy. But then I found myself like I would just have a bowl of nuts and I'd be eating them. And I'm like,
Yep.
dude, I am gaining so much weight because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm like, that's 1,500 calories that you just
Yeah.
ate in those like three handfuls. Like, what do you do, you know? And so I found I've cut out nuts and that. But like, what, yeah, go
Well, maybe I used to think that there's a way of eating that would suit everybody, but it's not
Okay.
true. Like
Yeah,
that
like
would
you
be
would just
one.
create like one diet for everyone, but you find it so different because we're all so unique.
Well, it's more like I never created a diet. Like I'm actually very uh, I when you consult with me, I don't have a cookie cutter thing for you. I don't have a
I saw
protocol.
you mentioned like intuitive eating.
Yeah. Yeah, intuitive eating and also with your data. You see, you're telling me about the nuts. I got so much information, like we could totally go deeper and then but when I work with people, it's again, I'm becoming, I mentioned that earlier, but a sleuth. It's like discovering what is about you. Like, when you eat nuts, it doesn't suit you. I have a lot of nuts in my, but maybe not the same quantity, but to
Right,
me, it's been appetite balancing and then hormonal balancing and nutritious. Like, but for me, that's what it does. For you, it does something different. Even if this is a good food, and for some people, they're going to have allergies.
right.
So I may have thought before that, um, like fibers or certain vegetables might be suitable for one person, but might not be for the other person. And sometimes it's for texture.
Right,
Sometimes maybe I used to, also think like, organic is the best.
right,
I still think that, out of the ground from your own garden is ultimately the best, but some
right.
people can't afford it as well, right? And some people,
I
some
always
foods. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
laugh at I laugh at that meme you see where they're like, my favorite part about the farmer's market is where you cut out the middleman and it costs twice as much.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
is so interesting. Oh my God, that is so true. And but you
Yeah,
also, when you go to a farmer's market, you see how hard they work
of course.
and
Yeah,
how our food industry strips away, like buying peppers that come in Kitimat that comes from Mexico.
right.
What are because it comes from countries where their work, the laws or their work, situation, their salaries,
Yeah,
uh,
their labor
very
laws are just,
different.
yeah, you can't
Sorry, thank you.
compete
The
with
labor is
yeah.
very different. Like if you go to Chile and you go to see the avocado trees, it's a bit
Yeah.
shocking as well. But there's always variables into the food system. Okay, oh my God, if you get me going onto big food, I say like this: big food and big pharma sleep in the same bed, so
Right. Yeah.
they have a love affair. And
Yeah.
but so when you talk about organic, that's always a good conversation. I'm like, hey, if you know where it's from,
Right.
and also trust that certain foods are not sprayed as much. They don't have as much like enemies, or so it's also like the environmental working group, maybe you know that, EWG.
No.
They do
But
the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. It's always a great
right.
handout to have and know which one to buy. So maybe I used to be a little more like um, precious about certain principle, but now I understand that also like our bodies is constantly cleansing and
Yeah.
detoxifying. And one of the best way to detox, right? It's spring. Remove the insulting foods. Like remove what is making you feel crappy. And your
Right.
liver and your kidneys, they're gonna detox. Go move, go sweat, drink water, you're gonna detox. You don't have to spend fancy amount of money onto
Well,
like
well, that's what I found with like I eat a lot of salt, and I think it's because I sweat a lot. Like I'm going to the gym a lot and I'm getting a good sweat on and then being in the sauna and sweating it out. And so I find I really crave salt and like I put too much salt. But when I go or what I would perceive naturally to be like, man, that's a lot. Like I've been told you shouldn't put that much. But when I go and get my blood work done and stuff, everything is coming up aces. And it just seems to be like almost that is one thing I do intuitively. Where I go, oh, I feel like I need more salt. And then I just eat
yeah,
more and I feel better.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's and there's always going to be someone maybe looking at you and comparing, right? We are really good humans at comparing, judging, pointing the finger, saying, what are you doing with that butter? Why are you too much
Right.
salt? Because it's a projection, right? It's a projection. It's not an observation. Like we deserve to be more curious, mindful, aware, and ask questions. Ah, wow, how do you do that with the butter? That's cool. Okay. And then
Yeah,
just be in
yeah.
wonder of how people just figure it out to do things differently than we do, and we can learn from this. And if we for me, like that's why I called my professional work like a practice, because I practice just like on the mat, just like on the floor. We practice
Right.
every day our awareness, paying attention to your body, like what the body is telling you. Like you're gonna feel if you're hungry or not. And sometimes is it a hunger for physical, like a physical hunger, like for food, or is it a craving for connection, like for
Right.
love, for rewards, for acknowledgement, for intimacy? Like what is the craving, and naming it, maybe not out loud if you don't want to, but noticing, because this is also nutrition.
Well, that's
What
like
do
a
you nourish?
good meditation technique, right? It's like noting, right? So
Yeah,
you're like, oh, like anytime a
yeah,
thought comes in, you realize you're thinking and you label, you go, oh, thinking, and then like let it pass and go back to your focus.
yeah.
So yeah,
uh,
labeling. Yeah.
you have a great podcast on that.
No, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, I got one more. What is something, if people are feeling stressed, do you have anything that you recommend people for recovery? Like, is it so personal, like depending on what you're doing, or do like a lot of time if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm like, I'm just gonna lay in bed all day and not do nothing.
Well, stress. Okay, there's definitely a lot to unload, but breath. You
Breath? Yeah.
breathe. You gotta breathe. And if you feel like it's a skipping disc, everybody tells you to breathe. Well, just do it. Try it. Breathe.
Right.
If you're laying down in bed, have your hand to your chest and hand to your abdomen, and make both hands rise at the same time. Soften and notice where you're breathing. Are you breathing into your shoulders? Breathe into your hip if you have tension, into your
Right.
lower back. This and your circle back to meditation, but doesn't matter what you're doing. I would definitely say connect to nature. Bare feet on the grass right now is pretty outstanding, but go
Yeah.
outside, get fresh air, and breathe. Because we, and if you can, maybe leave your phone behind, but
Yes.
we,
You know what I think? That's why I think I love the sauna. Like the sauna, if I
yeah,
quite often I go to public pools to just use the sauna. And I'm like, why do I love the sauna so much? And I think it's that my phone is locked in a goddamn locker. Like, I'm like, that's what it is. If my phone is locked up in there and I'm free from that thing for the
yeah,
20 or 30 minutes that I'm in here. And then you're like,
yeah,
life is great. And that's where like all my creativity comes from, I find, is when
yeah.
I find I have to get bored to create. Like if I have constant input, you're never creating, but it's
Oh,
like
I like that.
shove all this stuff away. And I
Uh,
get to the point where I'm just sitting there bored and then thoughts start coming in. And then it is a bit of like meditative techniques to like navigate, like, oh, don't worry about that thought. Let that one go. Like
yeah,
let something else. But then like an idea for like a joke will come in and I'm like, hey, start playing with that. What is funny about that? Like, yeah.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
take an electronic time off. a holiday,
Yeah.
electronic holiday. I love that. But man, I've seen guys, not girls, guys with their cell phone in the sun. I
Yeah.
was like, man, you're gonna break it. That's even
Well, that
worse.
I saw people with their earphone and their yeah, the guy like listening to music while on his thing, and I'm like, you're crazy. But I mean, I guess that's their thing. They like it.
You're right.
I
No judgment, no
but
judgment.
yeah,
But wow, but yeah, so I think there's definitely a lot in this to unpack, but yeah, and also
I
the
like
nervous system takes a while to release. People, there's no quick fix to relax. You cannot
right.
just,
Well,
it's not a switch.
that's what I found with meditation. I really like meditation. I find it really works. Like you're saying, like focus on the breath. Like I do, like you sit down if I'm stressed, like breathe in, noticing I'm breathing in, breathing out, noticing I'm breathing out, pick a focal point, do all that. And I'm like, oh, this is the best tool I have. But it's like it's the only tool I know how to use that one. So I'm like, if I'm stressed in public, do I just sit down, crisscross applesauce, and be like, I need that. I'm like,
So
I need, there's no like quick, like, give me a shot of like de-stress now is short of like doing the breath
actually,
thing.
if you're so when you say you're stressed in public, come back to your body. It's the same thing because just find the four corner of your feet. I know there's no corner on the feet, but big toe, little toe, and the two sides of your heel. Find your
Right.
feet, find your length, find your spine, find a string pulling you upward, and come back into your body through the breath. That can
Mm.
be very instantaneous, actually. That's the thing. I said, like, the body to untrigger a stressful moment, actually 3 4 breaths could be enough. But
Right.
to regulate the nervous system, that's what I meant to say, right? To regulate the nervous system, to really, like, I just came back from acupuncture before
Oh,
getting
amazing.
together. Once the needle get affected, they affect you. Maybe it's at 15 minutes in, and your entire body just let go. That is an average of 15 20 minutes. But if you really want to trigger like a really intense adrenaline rush, then you can have a 3 4 breath. But then after, it's the cortisol that might stay lingering.
Right.
That's a bit of the physiology around it. So you're right. If you're in the public, take a few breaths, connect to the way you're empowering yourself into your body, and try it out. Should work.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. I think I can let you go on that. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and chatting. And I feel like we could chat for a lot longer. I have so many more questions. We didn't even get to talk about fasting was something I wanted to bring up, but yeah, maybe we can have you on for another episode sometime and we could talk about that.
It would be a pleasure. I love that.
Awesome. Well, Janie, anywhere, where can people find you if they want to look you up, they want to chat with you or book you for a consult? Where's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, JaniePelletier.com is my website. And I also have my Facebook, Janie Pelletier Yoga Nutrition. And that's it. I also have a YouTube channel. So people
Oh,
can go find a few videos there of past conferences and yeah, reach out.
awesome. Well, everyone, go say hello to Jenny and then yeah, go check out her stuff.